right. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Excuse my bleached out shirt here. It's whatever. Not really presentable right now. I just got done cleaning a bedroom. So I got all kinds of crap in my hair. Whatever. Anyway, just figured I'd jump on and do some development on memorability. I think we're gonna do some pretty cool stuff today that I think will help all of you, because you probably don't see what we're going to be doing today all that often in tutorials and stuff like that. And so if you haven't joined us in previous videos, what I'm doing is just decided to build my own project that I need for myself. And instead of me just doing that on my own time, I figured I'd live stream it and let you guys just follow along and watch what I'm doing. It's not so much to teach what I'm doing, but if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm willing to answer questions and help out. I do think this is beneficial for anyone who wants to join, and you can learn quite a bit. So if you guys are, let me just double check. I'm going to double check my streams and make sure that we're up both on Rumble and on YouTube. Looks like we are up on YouTube, I think. And Rumble, I'm not sure about. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I think we're streaming. It's not showing for me on either, but I think we're live. Yeah, I'm just gonna assume we're live. You guys let me know in the chat if we're not. I guess you couldn't, but all right. Well, we're gonna get going, and I'm gonna show you guys what we're working on. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my screen. Last video where we left off was we just got we got the API started. We're building this with Slim PHP framework, which is I compare it to Express for JS on Node.js. It's just a really lightweight, minimalist framework that helps us with the requests and responses, and allows us to do middleware and things like that. So we're going to do that just to kind of organize our API code, and then we're going to roll everything else ourselves. Some of it I'm pulling from my Rua framework as far as working with the database and doing migrations and whatnot. And then we installed a React.js through Vite. We haven't done anything with that yet. We just kind of spun up the project and got everything added to repositories, and we're using BuddyWorks because I want to show you guys just a new tool that I learned about that's super simple to do CI CD and deployments and things like that with it. Okay, so let's see. What I want to do. So one thing that's annoying, and since it's my own project, one thing that Laravel has that's super nice is Laravel has artisan commands. And so as a developer, you can create commands and use those from the terminal. And we can also do that when we're deploying and things like that. And so what I want to do is build out our own version of artisan that we can use when we're deploying to run migrations, or we can use to create different files for us, so we don't have to do a bunch of boilerplate stuff. So I think we could just dive headlong into the project and start with some things that, aren't necessarily, well, they're more visible, right? So we could do stuff that we could see immediately, but I want to take a little bit of time before we get going to help speed up the project as a whole by giving us some tools we can use along the way. So just double check. You guys go ahead and give me a chat if you have any questions. I'll try to keep up with that every now and then. And if not, let's just get going. The first thing that I want to do in our entry point here is this public index.php file. And everything gets forwarded to this by this htaccess. If it's not a file or directory, we're going to go ahead and forward it there. So the next thing that I want to be able to do is I want to define just a couple constants that are going to help us throughout the rest of our files. So I'm going to do that right here underneath our auto load. So let's define just a few constants. The first thing I want to define is base path. Okay, and we're going to define that as dir name. I'm going to use a pre-built PHP function and a magic property here called dir, and that's just going to give us the path of this directory, which will be the root of our API. And so if we go ahead and we var dump that, which let's var dump, call that base path, because I just want to show you what that'll end up being, and then we'll just kill it. And if I refresh here, you can see that the base path is var www html hpi. So that is the root of that. So that's pretty good. The next thing I want to do is I want to give a path that goes to our app directory. So we'll define another path here, and we'll just call this app path. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to concatenate onto our base path just /app. Okay. The next thing, well, I think that's it. I think we'll just go with that. So if we just I like to double check everything as we go. So if we double check this, now you can see where this is var www html api app. Okay, so that gives us a couple constants that we can work with in order to gives us a couple constants that we can work with so that we aren't stuck necessarily having to type all that out every time, or doing a bunch of like paths that are relative to where we're at. So I like defining a couple of these. Okay, now that we have that, what I'd like to be able to do is from the root of the API, I want to run commands, and instead of we're not going to copy Laravel directly, so they call theirs artisan, but what I would like to do is let's create a file that we're going to run, and it's going to be in the root, so I'm going to create a new file, and I'm not going to give this file an extension. Let's just call this runner, and I'm not going to put .php, although this will be a PHP file. I'm just going to call it runner, and that's it. That way we can just type, we can use PHP and type runner, and then we're going to be able to run that. Okay. So the next thing, I'm going to open up a terminal here, and let's go ahead and while we're in our terminal, I'm going to exec into our container because I want to run it from in there. So in order to do that, we can do docker ps to get a list of our containers, and I want to go into this Memorbility web. So I'm just going to copy this container ID, and we'll do docker exec -it, and we're going to go bash. Now that we're in bash, you can see that we are in our container here. Our user is dev at, and then our container ID, and it drops us into the var www html. So since we're in the HTML folder, I'm just going to cd into our API folder, and if I ls here, you can see our files right here, and we have this new runner file. Okay, so now that we do that, I'm going to go ahead and define at the top of this file user bin environment PHP. Okay. That's going to help us run this with bash. This is going to tell it's a bash script, but it's going to run it with PHP. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do here is, which by the way, this is just a comment, and it's kind of like putting an HTML5 thing at the top of your HTML documents. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but we'll put it there. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to use our app. Remember in the last video we created, inside the app, we created providers, and we created this provider factory. So we're not going to be spinning up the entire app when we run this, but we are going to go ahead and create a dependency injector so that we can have our database connections and things like that. So let's put in providers and then provider factory. Okay. And it would help if I use the right slash there for my namespace. The next thing we're gonna do is, remember we created this DI, well, we installed this DI container from Composer. So we're going to use that here, and then we're also going to need to declare our environment variables. So we'll use our .env. Let's go ahead and also, let's see if I can associate this file. Yeah, let's associate this file type with PHP, just so we can have some syntax highlighting. There we go. All right, so we have .env. I guess the next thing we'll need, that's it for now. I think we might come back. So because this file is running independently from our application, because we're going to run this from terminal, we do need to go ahead and bring in our autoload. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to require our well, we could, let's see. I think we're going to need to define our base path and our app path again. So I'm just going to copy that from here. Let's see, dir name, that would put, if we're here, yeah, I think we're still fine. We might need to check that. Yeah, let's go ahead and check this real quick, and I'll show you how we're going to run this. So let's do a var dump, and let's check our base path here. Just exit. Okay, so down here we can just run PHP runner. And now you can see that our base path, which I put that in quotes for some reason, that is a constant. It should not be in quotes. So let's run that again. Yeah, now we're getting var www HTML. It's not exactly what I want. So instead of doing the dir, let's try file here. Try that again. Okay, so now we are getting the root, which is the APIs. Okay, so that's what we want. All right, so now we have our base path and our app path. We're going to need to go ahead and bring in our inside of our vendor directory, the autoload file. We want to go ahead and include this autoload so that we can use our Composer libraries. So let's require, and we're going to require our base path ./vendor.autoload.php. Now we'll have our autoloader loaded. The next thing, you know what would be helpful too? Let's go ahead and create a helper file. So I'm just going to call this helpers.php. I'm going to put a few functions in here so that if we want to add some functions that aren't part of a class method or something like that, we can do that. So let's go ahead and add that. So this is going to be a PHP file, and then what we're going to do is say if not function exists, and I'm going to call this dd. So we're adding our own dd function here, much like Laravel. Then we'll say function dd. This will take some data. By default, we'll just do that. All right, so it's going to take that, and what I want to do is I want to echo some pre-tags like this. We'll go down here and we'll echo some closing pre-tags. And then we'll exit. And in the middle here, we'll do our var dump. And we'll throw data in there. Okay, so to make this work now though, I'm going to use Composer's autoload stuff to load in this file. So let's go and look at that. So if we go to our, not Docker Compose, dang it. We need to go to composer.json. Okay, and I think the way this works, I might have to look this up. If I remember right, I think we can give this files, and then we can give this an array of files here. And so this is going to be from where this composer JSON lives. So I think we need to, you know what, I'm going to look this up because I don't remember. Include files with composer.json. Auto load files. Source helpers.php. All right, so it is just a list of strings. So we'll do from here, we'll do, let's try app / helpers / helpers.php. I'm going to save that, and then we're going to run composer. I'm just going to run composer install. That won't install anything, but it automatically runs the auto load dump stuff, which I think will add this. So let's see if that works now. Let's go to our runner file and let's just try this now. dd base path. So if with any luck, if that works, undefined function dd. Okay. Helpers, if not function exists, dd function. Okay. Oh, crap. I think it's because it's got to be below this. So let's dd base path here. Still doesn't work. Why not? Why not? File source. Let's double check our composer file. From here, we're going to, wait a minute. Yeah, from going into app, then helpers, then helpers.php. Why didn't that work? Composer help. Composer dump. I don't remember the exact command here. Generating autoload files generated. Okay, so it generated that. Let's try to run runner again. Ah, what's going on? It's gotta be. Or this is wrong. Base path. Vendor. Autoload.php. Before we try this DD real quick, let's try and just see if something else works. So let's do .env and let's see if this part of the autoload's working. Create immutable, and then we're gonna pass in the base path. Will that work? Yes. And then got env load. Okay, now that should give us an error if our auto load's not working. Okay, we didn't get an error there. Let's try var dump server. Okay. So that's working. So part of our auto load's definitely working. For whatever reason, app. Let's see. I'm gonna go into helpers and copy path reference and I think that's what I already had. Oops, you know what it is? This whole section needs to be in the auto load. I had a bad configuration on my composer file. So let's go ahead and run the composer dump auto load again. And now if we run php runner, we should be able to use our, instead of that var dump, should be able to use our dump, our dd function, or dump and die function now. And there we are. Okay, good. So now we know our helpers file is being brought in, and we have this dd function we can use for debugging purposes. All right, no comments so far. I really do hope that I'm live. I'm just gonna double check one more time because I'm paranoid. We are live here. Rumble is still struggling, I think. Well, I hope this works on Rumble. It looks like we're live on YouTube, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. All right. So let me go ahead and bring this back. Okay, so we have our auto load stuff done. I'm gonna close that down. The next thing that we're gonna do in this runner file is we're gonna start creating basically. We want to, let's see. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, so after this load, the next thing we're gonna do is get our arguments, because we want to be able to pass arguments into this, right? So in order to do that, there's a function that gets brought in that's just called argv. Okay, And so let's dump and die args. And so when we run, let me just clear this down here. When we run PHP runner, our args are going to look like this. So when I do that, we have runner as an argument and we have args as a second. So runner itself is the first argument. We don't really want that to be an argument. So what I'm going to do is right off the bat, I'm going to array shift that. Whoa. And then that should get rid of runner. And what should be left is our one parameter that we added after that. Okay. So that's all good to go. The next thing, when we have these arguments that we can use, we're gonna need to create some sort of well, you know what? I told you we're gonna do the dependency injection, so let's do that now. So we got this container. So let's do container. We'll just call it container. And let's set that equal to a new container, and that's just part of this library that we installed. And then we're going to say container is equal to, and remember our provider factory, this is exactly what we did in the last video. We're just going to build that and we're going to pass in the container there. And what that's going to do is run all of our providers that we add into this factory. So for right now, all we're doing is adding our DB provider. But now we'll have access to our database inside of our terminal command. So that is very useful. The next thing that I want to be able to do, let's see. We are going to, the next thing I guess is to run a command, but we don't have that yet. So let's go ahead and build that class out. Go to core, and we're going to add a new class that we're going to call command runner .php. Now we put this inside core, so we need to define this namespace. So this namespace is going to be app core. Okay. The next thing we'll do is just give it the name of the class, command runner, just like that. And we're going to define the command name and our params, which will be by default an empty array. And then let's build our constructors. So public function construct, and our constructor is just going to take the arguments. So by default, that's going to be just an empty array. So I guess we don't need to set that. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens. So the way that I want this to work, I got to think about how to do this, because I think what I want this to do is I want to run PHP runner, and then we want to have a command to run here. So it might be something like generate migration, or generate a model, or generate, a command. Use that to create a new command. So that's kind of how I want this to work. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to find that command. And I think to do that, we're going to say this. Okay, let's check. If not empty, args. Arg 0. So it's a first. We want that command to always be first. So if not, then we're going to say this. If it's not empty, then this command is going to be equal to args 0. And then we will array shift to get rid of that. Array shift args. Okay. Else, what I want to do is if this is empty, then we're going to set a default command. And that default command, we're going to just call list. Because what I want to do, just like with Laravel's artisan command, I want to list out all the available commands with this. So that's what we're going to do there. The next thing that we're going to do after setting that is, we'll say this params, and we're going to plug in the rest of the arguments there as the rest of the params into this class. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set our command up, but I think I want to create another function to do that just because it's going to have a little bit more logic in it. And then, yeah, let's do this set command class. I don't really like the name of that, but it's hard to think of names, so, and it's my own project, so I don't know what that means. Private function set command class. We're not going to do this outside, use this publicly. This is only going to be run within this command runner, so that's totally good. So next, what we want to be able to do is, what's cool with PHP is you can actually use the built-in directory iterator, and inside of here we can iterate over app path, and then we're going to look at our commands folder. So right now we don't have a commands folder, so let's create that. So app, inside of our app path, let's create a new package. So this will be commands, and this directory is where we're going to store all of our commands that we're going to run inside of our runner here. So now this here will actually allow us to loop through all. This iterator is going to allow us to do a for each over each one of the files inside of that directory, which is super cool. It's just built into PHP. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say for each dir, so for each directory as, and then what it gives you is something called file info. What we can do here, let's do a DD, and I'm going to show you what file info shows up first. But first we need a command in here, so let's go ahead and create a new file, and we're just going to call this list.php. Do I want to do that? Let's actually, all of our commands we're going to end with command, so list command.php. All right, and inside of here, I'm going to give this a namespace, and our namespace is going to be app commands, and then we're just going to give this a class of list command, and other than that, I'm not going to do anything. Okay, so let's go back to the command runner. We're down to this set command class. Let's see, and then inside of our runner, we're building out, okay, so inside of our runner now, we want to run that command, right? So let's do it. We need to bring it in here. So use app core command runner, and then we're going to say runner is equal to new command runner. And that's going to take our args that are left over. So let's just run that and see what happens. So PHP runner list. Okay, so you can see here when I now our pre-tags don't work great inside the terminal, but that's okay. You can see we get back a class, this directory iterator, and our path name. This gives us, on the path name, we got our full path name of that list command. Now, this is the dump and die caused us to exit after the first one, but we actually get a list of every file in there, and we got the file name, we got the path name. So we can use file name and path name to our advantage here. And so what I'd like to do there is we're going to set that command class equal to that. So let's see what, okay, so we have the path name, and we have, what we don't have is a namespace here, so we might have to kind of hard code the namespace. So yeah, what we're going to do is we are going to the other thing that it could be is a dot file, which is like the parent directory or this directory. We don't want to include those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say if not file info is dot. So this will, you know, inside of a directory usually you have dot, and then you'll have dot dot, and then you have actual dirs. This is going to exclude the two dot and dot dot. That's what this is going to do. So file info is dot. If it's not that, then what we're going to do is we're going to say class is equal to, and this is what I mean by hard coding it. We're going to have to hard code in our namespace, and then what we're going to do is just we're going to add on, so then we can add on file info get file name. Now file name had list command.php. We don't want this PHP on here though. So let's trim that off. Let's right trim file info, and we're gonna trim off the .php off the end of that. So then what that's gonna be, well, we can just dump and die that. So let's dump and die class, and I'll show you what that is. So now we have our class name with our namespace, which is cool because now when we set this, our autoloader will be able to autoload this class in, this list command class. So we don't have to maintain that anywhere because it's going to have our namespace already, and we've set our app namespace up in our composer autoload. Okay, so now we will have that. Let me just check here. No chats. Okay, rocking and rolling then. So now we have this class, and I think what I want to be able to do, I want to make sure every command class has a couple things. The first thing that they have to have, I want them to have, is a key, and let's make that a public static key, and we're just going to call this the key. Let's see, the key will be what we're going to use to, so we want that to match whatever argument we're passing in. Okay, and then I will also want to give it a public static description so that we can print to the terminal what the description is. So list, let's see, list is going to list all available commands. You see what I'm doing here? And then what we're going to want to do is have some sort of handle function or a run function, and let's just call it handle, I think. So we'll do a public function handle. Okay, so in order to follow this same structure, or at least to make sure they have this stuff, one thing we can do is we can create an abstract class. So I think I'm going to do that. Let's go ahead and inside of our core directory, we're going to make a very simple class here, and we're going to call this just command. Okay. And our command is going to be, give it a namespace of app core, because it's in the core directory there. And then we're just going to do an abstract, whoops, gotta spell it correctly, abstract class command. And then inside of here, let's create, let's go ahead and add the public params here. Whoa. Public params. And then let's create a constructor here. So public function magic method construct. And that's going to take some params as the first argument. And what we'll do is just say this params is equal to params. Pretty straightforward there, but here's the magic. We're going to define an abstract public function handle. And what this will do is force, every time we extend this class, it's going to make sure that one, it gets constructed correctly, but all because we're going to extend it, but also it'll have params, and also it'll have this handle method. So let's go back to our list command that we've already started, and let's just use app, and then this app core command. And instead of just making this a class here, let's extend. So extends command like that. Okay, good deal. Okay, cool. So back then in our command runner, let's see where we're at with that now. So we had our class now, but now what we want to do is we want to check if the key is equal to if the key is equal to the command. So remember we had this list key, and if they run something that matches that there, then we want to run that, okay? So we're looping through all the files, and we're going to find the file that has the matching key. Maybe that's an easier way of saying it. So we've got the class now. We're going to say if, now we can do class key, because we know they're going to have a key, and if that equals this command, then what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to stop iterating through the files, and we'll do a break. But before we do the break, we want to do this command class is equal to class. Okay. So now when we're up here and we do the set command class, that is going to create the set command. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is inside this command runner, let's add one more public function. We'll call this one run. This is going to actually run the command. So our constructor is setting our arguments, it's getting our command, and it's setting the class up so that we find the, we're going to loop through all of our commands and find it and then run it, okay? So after we get this public function run here, we're going to say if, first of all, if, if not this command class, because now we need to know, we need to do something. If it doesn't, if not this command class, then we're just going to return, because we don't want to do anything if it doesn't find a file to run. Otherwise, we're going to use a built-in function called getUserFuncArray. And what's cool about this is we can pass in an array, and inside of this array, the first thing we can do is instantiate by wrapping this in a function call. So new this command class and then we're going to pass in this params. Remember we set up our params up here in the constructor? Okay, awesome. And then after that is the second one, we get to tell it what method we're going to run. So we're going to run the handle method. And then we're going to pass in an empty array there. This is going to run with empty param. What this is doing is running this handle method. So remember here we have this handle method, but we don't want to pass any parameters to that. So this right here is that empty param list. Okay, so now let's test this in the list command inside this function. Let's just do dump and die, and let's do yay, you made it. And if that happens when we run our list command, then we're going to be in good shape. So let's clear this and let's run PHP runner list. All right, we got some problems. Okay, so it says app commands list command not found. So I think we have probably some sort of, oh, I see, we need, it ran these two together, so commands and list command. So let's try again. What the heck, did my terminal stop working? Okay. Well, my terminal is not working there, so I guess let's use this terminal. Docker ps docker exec -it bash cd API. All right, let's try it now. PHP runner list. Okay, so nothing happens. Why did nothing happen? Let's go back and look at our runner file. Oh, runner run. We need to run the run method. Oh, looky there. Yay, you made it. So let's try now with the command that we don't have a file for. Say nothing. Well, I said nother, which is not anything. But this says undefined property command class on 21. So let's fix that. And that is because we're setting command class here, but we don't have it up here. So what we probably need to do to fix that is let's add a private property called command class. And with that, let's run that again. Okay, so now we didn't get anything. We didn't get any errors, but it didn't say, yeah, you made it. But if we run an empty one, it defaults to list, so it says you made it. And if we run PHP runner list, yay, you made it. So now we can start running commands that we build right here in our terminal, much like artisan commands. Now we got some work to do to add some functionality. So let's see how long we've been streaming for. Okay, we're doing good. I'm gonna look at a reference really quick because I think we can quickly add a few commands that's gonna make our lives pretty awesome. I got a file. I'm gonna copy a trait that I have in another project really quick on a different computer, so hang tight. And what I'm gonna do is email myself this. And off screen, I'm going to grab that. I don't want to make you guys watch me. I'm going to explain this file. I'm going to explain it, but so let's create another. I want to, inside the app here, we're going to create some traits. So a new, oops, not file. Let's do a new package called traits. And inside there, I'm going to do a file called terminal print.php. Add that, and I'm going to paste in my file. So this gets a namespace of app traits, and then I'll kind of go through this. So we're setting up a trait, and we're calling it terminal print. And then what we have here is some colors set up for foreground colors and background colors. And these are terminal colors. So we have a success, error, info, and warn set up. And then we have a function called info that allows us to pass a message and a type. And the type can be either success, error, info, or warn. And it'll print text with those foreground and background colors into our terminal. So we can have colored text. The next thing I have here, and I got this probably from Stack Exchange, at least mostly, and I probably changed it up a little bit, but basically here's a method that we can use called progress, and this will do a progress bar inside the terminal. And then also there is a table in here. So what we're going to do is inside of our command runner, let's use app traits terminal print, and then inside the class here we can use that by saying use terminal print like that. And then I want all of our commands to have that too, that ability. So we're gonna, inside the command that we're extending, we're gonna say use app traits terminal print, and then at the top of the class here we'll say use terminal print. That'll give us that functionality. So now what we can do is in this command runner, I want to give an error message if a command doesn't exist. So after the set command class here, we're going to say if not this command class, then we're going to say this info, and we're going to say invalid command. Invalid command, and let's see, we'll give it a type of error. And then the next thing I want to do is say this command is equal to list, and then we'll do this set command class again, which will set up that class and find the list. So what we want to happen basically is it's going to attempt to get a command by the argument that we pass in. If it doesn't find one, it's going to tell us that with an error message, and then it'll print out the ones that are available directly below that. So let's test that real quick. Of course, we're not going to be able to print it just yet, but let's do PHP runner. Let's break this on purpose. So break, and now we have a terminal command called invalid command. And then it ran the list method right here, which is not exactly what we want to do. We want to print all of those. So let's finish that command, because I think this will start looking a lot cooler to you if we finish that list command. So let's go back to list command. We'll get rid of this DD now, and let's just get down to business. So remember how we had that directory iterator? We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to say dir equals new directory iterator, And now we're going to pass in app path / commands. So we want to find everything in this commands folder. Okay, that's what this is going to do. And then let's add a list. And this will be an array. And then what we're going to do is we are going to, for each of the directory, well, for each of the directory iterator, we'll call that file info. For each one of those, then we're going to say class equals app commands, and we will do it again. We're just going to put that same method in here, right trim file info, get file name. And we're going to trim off that .php off the end of that. Next thing is our key now is going to be equal to class key, and our description is equal to class description. And if it doesn't have one, then we're going to say no description provided. Hopefully that won't happen though. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to add to our list, and our key will be our, so these will need to be singletons. So our list key, and we're going to pass the description in like that. All right, so the next thing that we can do is we have this list built out now. So underneath this for each, let's see, our text that we're going to print to the screen is going to be available commands with a space, and then let's put our PHP end of line on here, which will break us down to the next line. And then let's case sort. So we're going to sort by the key, is what case sort does, our list. So they're in alphabetical order. And then we're going to for each list as key description text is going to be equal. We're going to concatenate on a PHP end of line, and then we're going to bring in our key space dash description like that. And then all we need to do is do this info, and we're going to pass text into there. All right, let's try it. So if I run PHP runner, app commands not found. Did I spell something wrong here? App commands. Our app path doesn't look right. What is this? ed app / commands. Let's see what that gives us. API app. Oops. Oh, pff. I'm stupid. API. Let's see what that is. Wait a minute. App. API app commands. What was that error? Class app commands not found on line 15. Get file name. Let me just copy this over because I think I might have ed class app commands list command. That looks correct. Oh, if so this is what we were talking about with the dot. So if not, if file info, let's do this a different way, is dot, then we're going to continue. There we go. All right. All right, so let me just clear this out. We'll try it again. PHP runner. So now it tells us that our available commands are list, and then it tells us a description of that list. We could also do this as a table, because I do have a table. Let's look at that terminal print. So we pass data in the table. We could do that. Let's try a table, just see what it looks like. I kind of like that idea. So instead of building up this text here, we'll do this info text, and then we'll still do the case sort, but after the case sort, we're going to say this table, and let's just pass list into that and see what happens. Let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of that. I want to see what that looks like. Wait, what? For each argument must be of type array object. A string is given a terminal print 76. Oh. Let me look at this for a second. Row key and row. Cell key cell. Okay, this has to be, in order for us to use the table, instead of it being an array with the key of this, our list needs to be list. We're going to add to this, and an array. And the array, the first one will be the key, the next one will be the description, like that. I think that will make this work. Okay, yeah, there we go. So now we have list and then the command. So before that, let's do an array in here, and we'll say command description to give it kind of a header. There we go. I kind of like this. It'll be a table, available commands, and then the command is list, and the description is list all available commands. Cool. Right on. Well, the next thing that we want to be able to do is easily create these commands. So I think the next thing we'll do is let's create a new command called generate command. And this will be a super easy command. Let's go up here, create a new file, and let's call it generate command. .php. So it's a PHP file. We're going to give it a namespace of app commands. We're going to use app core command, and this will be a class generate command, and this will extend command. Now you see we get this error here, and that's because we don't have a handle method. So we'll stub that out. So the IDE will let us do that, although I don't like the formatting. We'll switch that up. And then the next thing that we need to do here is we need to add our public static key. And I want this key to be generate :command, like that. Public static description is going to be generate a new command. Just like that. Awesome. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get the name. We want to pass in, so the way I want this to work, it'll be this command here. We'll do PHP runner generate command, and then we have to give it a name. So the new command that we're trying to create, let's say generate migration command. Okay, that's how I want that to look. So let's go back now and get that. So the name then would be this params, and we're getting the first param, or an empty string. So then what we're going to say is, hey, if empty name, then we're going to do a this info, and we're going to tell them that to please provide a name for the command. And then we're going to give that as an error message, and then we'll just return. So let's test that. If we run the generate command function without anything, yeah, then we get an error message that says please provide a name for the command. Perfect. So let's go back now. So now that we know we have a name, let's make sure name is capitalized. So we're going to say UC first name. And then we're going to give it a path. The path will be our app path. And then we'll concatenate on commands / and you know what, let's use double quotes so we can do string interpolation here. And we're going to pass name in command, command.php. Okay, so that'll be the path. And then we're going to check to see if that already exists. So if that file exists already, So if exists path, then again, we're going to tell them this info, that command already exists. And we're going to give them an error on that. Okay. So let's try that now. So let's try to build another list command. So if we do PHP runner generate command list, and it'll tell us that command already exists. All right, so what about generate migration? Okay, so we didn't get an error message here, so we know that we're good to go there. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to create the file. So underneath this file exists, let's do a here doc. I like that for this sort of thing. So we're going to say content is equal to, and then our here doc, we'll call it content, like this. Yep. And then what I'm going to do, we'll do PHP namespace app commands use. Now we're just typing out what we want to be in this file. So use app core command, and then it gets a class, and we're going to pass in our name, and then that will extend command. And then we'll give it a public static. Now we can't just do key like this because it's going to try to put that in, so we have to escape that. So public static key, and we'll give it command name, public static description, and we're going to say description of the name command. The next thing we'll do is stub out our public function handle. And let's go ahead and give this the proper. Okay, public function handle, and say your code here. Okay, so now that we have content done, underneath that we can just do file put contents, and we're going to pass it the path in the content, and then we'll print this info command created successfully. Let's try it. Generate migration. All right, so now it says command generated successfully. It has an extra little that there, but now we have a file called generate migration command, and if we look at it, we have generated a stubbed out command that now we can just come in here and change the key and the description and put our handle code here, and we know it already extends the correct thing and it's called the correct name. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So now we actually have a generate migration command. So in our next live stream, what I'd like to do, since we've gotten these commands working, I think it'd be helpful for us to build out a migration command so we can run migrations, and we'll do this generate migration, and we'll go ahead and build our database so that we can start coding out our stuff with a database. But yeah, we're getting real close. I just wanted to take a little bit of time. It only took us a little over an hour or something to start building out some commands, sort of like the artisan command in in Laravel that we can use in our own application. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Now if we, but let's go and look, let's just run our list command now. And it tells us that our available commands are generate command, which is that new one we just added, that's boilerplate. We can run the list one, and we have the command name. Now the downside of this right now is this actually isn't in alphabetical order anymore. So crap. I think in order to do that, let's go back to our list command. It's because I changed that over to the table and we don't have that case sort thing anymore. So that's not going to work there. So I think to make this work, we're going to have to do another for each, which kind of sucks. So we'll say data, and then we'll do for each list as key description, data is equal to key description, and then we're going to pass the table the data, not the list. And then let's get rid of this, add that into the data, and then the list will do list key is equal to description. So we'll get rid of this, and then before we do this for each, we'll just do our case sort there. So let's try that now. All right, so now we got them in alphabetical order. Command generate list. Perfect. I kind of like this table better, but I almost kind of like the we'll just leave it for now. It's fine. We got a list. It's easy to read. It's good enough. Okay. We don't want to over-engineer our own projects, otherwise we'll never get them done. We don't have a whole team working on this. Working on it ourselves. So what I'm going to do here is let's exit out of our Docker container, and I'm going to cd into the API, cd into source, then the API. And here's our master directory here. So let's do a git status. Go ahead and add that. Git commit. But now we can run commands. Yay. We'll push that up. And I think that is going to do it for us. Yeah. So we are on our way now to building out memorability. I like the commands. We'll be able to use our migrations. We'll have a few commands to generate new migrations and to run our migrations, as well as back up our migrations and run them backwards to get rid of them, so that we can manage our database on any environment that we choose to put it on, both locally and on our server. Yeah. So pretty happy with that, guys. So I'm going to get off here for the night. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I hope you're enjoying the series so far. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll continue on in the next live